have you noticed that it feels like everything that we do nowadays in our modern world is somehow tied to our smartphones? Well, the fun thing here is that, did you know when Steve Jobs introduced the first iPhone, I think it wasn't like in 2006 or 2007, it was not about it being a phone, but about it being much, much more than that. But let's have a listen. But in 2007, all of this would change forever.
And an internet communicator, an iPod, a phone.
When Steve Jobs had the idea to modify Apple's popular iPod at the time, their MP3 player back then, he thought it would be cool to combine an MP3 player with a mobile phone. And why not give it easy internet access as well?
And we are calling it iPhone.
The main innovation in Steve Jobs' eyes was that it combined the so successful iPod with an internet communicator, so a computer, and yeah, also a phone that was also installed on it. The iPhone became so popular because it centralized all the features that people actually wanted to use at that time, and it was seen as revolutionary. I may ask, at what cost? So I give you an example. So I just coined this the IKEA Principle because I think most of you have actually been at IKEA at some point in their life, and this is a proud supplier of all the fake plants that I own. This as well, it's an epidemic. And the thing with IKEA is that most of you who've at least once been there know that for many people it's that they go in there for one particular reason. They want to buy a plant. But IKEA forces you to actually go through these showrooms and actually see all the stuff that they actually produce, and they have these neat showrooms. You're presented with all the furniture, all the things that they actually sell, and it's not the exemption but the norm that the majority of people actually go out of IKEA with way more things that they actually wanted to buy because there's so many shiny things catching their attention. I recently was with a group of friends at IKEA, and one of them has never been there actually and was kind of refusing to go there in the first place, and he said like, no, this is stupid. We told him about these showrooms. No, this is stupid. I don't need any of that crap. Guess who was the first person who actually started looking at every furniture that they offered, like, yeah, this would be nice in my living room. Why I tell you this is it's exactly the same with your phone. If you clicked on this video, then you probably want to reduce your screen time because it's some sort of an epidemic. We waste hours. Statistics say that the average human spends about 5 hours a day on screens, which adds up, I think, about a month, a year or so, which is ridiculous that we spend such a huge amount of time on our devices. The thing is, we all want to quit it, but we don't know how. The reason is that because of the IKEA principle, I call it, you go into your phone to do one thing, for example, answer someone on WhatsApp, but there's so many shiny icons that you want to go on Instagram, you want to quickly check out TikTok, you want to quickly check your emails, and the more checking you do, the more you're actually stuck in your phone, and it's harder and harder to actually leave it. 2 months ago, I actually was on a trip in Antwerp in Belgium, and for the first time I actually set out because, you know, I have this camera right here that I actually bought for the YouTube channel, but it takes really nice pictures. It takes way better pictures than my old phone that I have. So like, why not use this instead of my phone like in the good old days before there were smartphones to actually take photos on this trip? And guess what? I loved it. So normally I was just so annoyed by my phone because I use it for navigation, I use it to look up things, I use it to take photos, and because it was really cold, normally the battery would die immediately because it's an old phone. I would constantly have to grab it, unlock it, you know, the hassle. The thing is, it was such a nice feeling with the camera that I just had it all the time in my hand. I could just quickly take photos of everything. Was super nice. It was just such a feeling where I noticed like, man, it's so good not to use my phone. It was not because I hate my phone particular, but it's way more practical with this external camera. This kept me thinking that this whole centralization of your phone is actually doing more damage than it does actually good if you want to reduce your screen time. Because on this channel, I'm all about digital minimalism and finding ways to actually lower your screen time to a sustainable level that you don't hate it actually. The other day I watched this video by a YouTuber called Paolo, and he talked about how he decentralizes his phone to actually do the same. And this got me thinking, yes, Man, yes, this is actually such a smart idea. If you and me, and you're watching this trying to reduce your screen time, are actually really sure that we want to reduce our screen time, then the thing is we should opt for the easy option and not the hard one. Because usually it goes like this. Man, I really want to use this phone less. I install screen time limits, I install app blockers, I monitor my screen time, I just talk myself down because, man, you're too often on TikTok, etc. And it's like really hard to stop doing this behavior. But guess what? When is your screen time actually the lowest? When you don't use your phone at all. Over the last decade or so, humanity as a whole kind of centralized all features of our modern online world in particular, and all the gadgets we use on a daily basis, into our little devices. I think everyone knows that you can barely call this a phone, because this is like just 2% of the things that we actually do with it. It's more than a multi-purpose Swiss Army knife online communicator with a high risk of cracking your screen. We should actually make it easy. The times when my screen time is the lowest is when I'm not using my phone. For example, in this trip to Antwerp, where I used my camera instead of my phone. It stayed in my pocket all day. And this is something that I've been trying to implement in my life, and it has like really been such an awesome way where I thought like, why didn't I think about this earlier, of actually lowering my screen time without forcing myself to do. I naturally now opt to using external things instead of my phone. Instead of actually gaming on my phone, which is something that I do from time to time. I really like to play older games like GTA Vice City, etc. because the risk is so high that from this app I go to another. I have this thing again, which is a Nintendo 3DS, and I freaking love it. Part of my childhood, I so much adore this little piece of plastic right here. It's a great way. You hear that music? It's the good music. It is just a super easy way to actually avoid using your phone altogether when you do something. I don't want to go too much into detail, but I just tell you about some things because I made other similar videos like that and don't want to repeat myself. Instead of always using a note app or Notion or so, I'm a big fan of using a notebook. I have this notebook for important things, and I have a little mini pocket notebook for not that important things. Instead of always listening to books on my phone or reading ebooks or so, it's a no-brainer to get physical books on the one hand, to get a Kindle reader if you find this more practical, or this little nugget here, I talked about it many times in other videos, an MP3 player that is also capable of listening to audiobooks. And here we are already the next topic, relying on Spotify and apps on your phone to listen to your music. You could get an old MP3 player and listen it on this one. So you naturally, when you just want to listen to music, don't go on your phone, and you can play this game without an end. For every feature that your phone has, think about how you could actually replace it in a somewhat natural way with things that you own in your real life, or that would you like you own, for example, because I didn't have that Nintendo for that long of a time. And this way you will naturally, without really putting much effort actually into it, lower your screen time, and it's simply not that hard to sustain that low screen time, because you naturally tend to use all the devices. And this can also, for example, be not about simple gadgets per se, but rather about usage behavior and rules for yourself, how you actually use media, for example. So what I do, for example, is that when I use social media, because although I'm not a big fan of it, I have an account for everything, I don't use it on my phone, but on my computer, so that I have a natural barrier to actually using it. Although it's really convenient to watch it in your bed, I don't watch Netflix or so, or movie streaming on my phone, but I always do it on my TV. That's the way that I kind of try to follow. Only because my phone is actually able to do it and is capable of doing it doesn't mean that I should do it on my phone, because the more services I have on it, the more I will actually use it. This is why I just dislike the fact that also from a government side or from an official side, no hate on government or so, I don't think this is big phone. Although, I don't know. I think it's here in Germany, I think it's kind of annoying that my public train ticket is only available on my phone. Same thing for unis nowadays. I'm not that big of a fan of Google Wallet or Apple Wallet or so, because it is practical in emergency situations, but the more I rely on my phone, the more I use it. So I rather opt for cash, paying by card or so. If you want to reduce your screen time, don't be too hard on yourself. Opt for the logical, easy option that actually makes it really much easy and simple to not use your phone and to avoid overusing it. But if you're in the game for a more radical approach to all of this, then I made this video right here where I tested a dumb phone for 3 full months and actually ditched my smartphone in order to use that. I really much liked it, and I think you will enjoy this video as well. So click here, and besides that, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully see you next time. Bye bye.